Let's talk about the latest House update, because there's a fair bit to unpack here. As we know, in version 1.5 we play as Tabby's sister Melody, who appears to have been awoken for the first time since this house and its curse tore this family apart.
Surprise, motherfucker!
But how exactly was this able to come to pass? How is the neighbour linked to the house? Who is this face-stealing man, and why is he hell-bent on taking Melody's soul? And what clues does the grandmother give us about the house's history? And who is this man on the TV screen? We're going to discuss all of those things today, so without further ado, let's jump back into House and another episode of Understanding the Game. To properly understand the new update to the game, we need to start where we left off previously, with Tabby. Having cut in half the heart of the house, or the Puppet Master as he is called, she was able to escape, save for her arm, and move on with her life. Any playthroughs after the true ending were merely just Tabby dreaming about the house. They weren't real. Then, in one dream, something is different, and a doll appears in Melody's room. A doll of her. I believe that this, whilst even still being a dream, was a direct result of the house's curse being broken by Tabby. The Puppet Master had dropped Melody's puppet, and Tabby can now see it in her room. What's particularly curious, at least from where I'm standing, and we'll come onto her in a bit more detail later, is the neighbour, and how she, not being directly in the house, has let's say otherworldly extremity, the long neck, knows both how to help Tabby save her sister, and specifically does it to Tabby. She chomps down on her head and either incapacitates her to some extent and throws her beneath the house where the Puppet Master was slain. There's certainly more to her than meets the eye, and I'm not referring to the giraffe neck, but I digress. With Tabby's consciousness seemingly disconnected from the house entirely, this allowed Melody, the only other person in the house that could still be saved, a chance to wake up. And as her first journal entry states, I woke up for what feels like the first time in months, like I've been stuck in a long dream. Melody, like Tabby, has been stuck in a recurring nightmare. Only Melody was under the control of the Puppet Master, and now that he's gone, she can move on her own, or with our help, depending on how meta you want to get. Melody must now save her family, same as Tabby, but in a significantly different way to her sister, if she wants to escape the house. Making Mother notice us for once and finally drop the drink, stopping the enraged corpse of our best friend Toby from rising from the dead and murdering our guilt-ridden father, in pieces in the basement over his actions. Now he's not under the Puppet Master's control. And the ghost of Toby, who we can see now thanks to the help of our grandmother and a rather special candle. Each of them play their part in helping to stop a very strange man who has come to the house to eat away at Melody's soul. Specific bits of dialogue of him and with the grandmother confirm this and highlight how this man is not of the normal plane of existence. He's arrived here because of Melody being awoken by the house's curse being broken. The house is now out of time. It's rotting away. This is how the Facestealer, or Jizo, as I believe he is called, has been alerted to the house and to Melody. Jizo is the name of the song that plays when he arrives at the house. Doing a quick Google search on Jizo brings up a lot about the Japanese Buddhist god, who plays a special role as a protector of children who died before their parents. Jizo is popular because of his role as a protector of children. Now, at least at the minute, that idea seems to go against what he is doing in this game. However, remember his first line, I shall escort you to the other side. This implies that he is a guide of sorts to help lost children find their way to their respective afterlife, be that heaven or someplace else. Similarly, in the Frambeau universe, how Benjamin the Fox is a guide to helping children such as Misfortune cross over into Senezity. This man claims to do the same. However, as we soon learn, that is just not the case. Before we get into the ending, I want to briefly explore some other characters in the update. Firstly, the grandmother, who becomes a lot more than just someone who wants things quiet around the house. It is confirmed in a conversation with her that the grandparents used to live in the house, so this helps us to understand that sometime after they both passed, James and Lisa, Melody and Tabby inherited the house, moved in, and then a few months later, things start to, let's say, get a bit weird. The grandmother goes on to explain how she loved the house and her husband hated it, this seemingly being after they had both died from the house. But we haven't seen or heard from the granddad, right? And for starters, no, I do not believe that the puppet master to be the granddad, and here's why. She continues that him spending eternity made him a little stir crazy, kept trying to move things in the material plane. Said something about taking control of the life he never had. He stormed off a few years ago, haven't seen him since. Now this can be interpreted in a number of different ways, but from what I can gather, it seems like their granddad found a way to untie himself from the house and go elsewhere as a ghost. Obviously it's unclear if he perhaps made a deal with the Facestealer Jizo, but if it came to light that he was the puppet master, then surely the grandmother would have brought it up. She specifically mentions him storming off and not being seen since, so in all likelihood, the granddad is no longer a part of the house. Now for this character, I certainly got it completely wrong when in the previous Let's Play video I blew my own mind by stating that the woman with the scissors was in fact Dolly. However, from looking at the wiki and looking in the Discord, this person seems to be known as the Seamstress, because you can see her knitting on Tabby's bed in version 1.5. Now in Tabby's section of the game, she just goes out of her way to kill Tabby with the scissors.
That's crap!
We later learn that it was because she was another ghost under the curse of the house. Now I'm unclear if there is confirmation in the game to prove it, however a strong theory about the Seamstress is that she was either a friend or close relative of the grandparents, and that when they lived there, the Seamstress made a doll for Melody. A doll that looks somewhat similar to herself in fact. And in all likelihood, the Seamstress also died in the house when its curse overtook the grandparents. In Melody's conversation with her at the end, she asks Melody if she remembers her, meaning that they met in the past, likely when Melody was too young to remember, perhaps visiting her grandparents at one point. But how does the neighbour fit into all of this? Well, here's what we know for sure. In version 1.4, the neighbour was the only other character aside from Dolly, Marty the snail and Tabby herself that remembered events after each run, meaning that the house's curse did not affect her. We also know that she has lived next door to the house for some time, when in the new menu screen she tells us that she used to pick flowers from across the street and now it's become a graveyard. She was also increasingly astute and knew the house's weak points, like Marty, assisting Tabby in finding solutions to solving the house's curse. The neighbour is someone who wanted to help destroy the curse of the house, or to at least help the children who had a chance of being saved from being stuck in an endless loop of death and depression. The other main action she has is that she wakes Melody up. She has the power to disconnect Tabby from the house and her looping dream so that Melody could wake up and plot her escape. Now, I just want to preface this next bit by saying that this is mostly speculation, so don't come at me. This is purely just wild theories with very little evidence. So perhaps at one time she knew the grandparents, as their neighbour, being there for quite some time, and maybe even what happened to her neck was the result of her entering the house. Only unlike Toby, maybe she managed to get out alive and with some strange powers of her own as well. Instead of selling the house on Rightmove, she chooses to stay and help the grandkids of her old neighbours, as she couldn't save them herself. Being next to the house, she listens, learns its secrets and how best to beat it, so that if another family moved in, she could perhaps save them. And for Melody and Tabby, she did exactly that. After the help of Mum, Dad and Toby, and Melody's excellent scissor chopping skills, Jizo falls through the rotted floorboards of the house, and here we see a number of ghosts, each who have had previously fallen victim to Jizo the Facestealer, as well as Tabby's unconscious body, which Melody grabs, and they escape the house. Only this time, they escape together. We see that as well as those two escaping, the curses of Toby, James and Lisa are all lifted, meaning that they can now pass on and are no longer tied to that house. Melody and Tabby are then taken in by the neighbour, and all is well, at least on the face of it. What we now have is a new menu screen of a TV with an assortment of interesting channels. I mean, it's not exactly Netflix, even though the neighbour said she paid for all of the premium channels, but I'm not one to judge, I pay for Amazon Prime. Anyway, from what I've seen in the Discord, the TV menu is sort of a random number generator, meaning that different things can happen each time you open up the game. So I did my due diligence for you guys and turned the game on and off for quite a while, getting some different text from the neighbour, about the flower picking and stuff like that. The frog in the window can appear sometimes, other times it's raining, sometimes it's not. Sometimes a meteorite is crashing to Earth and shakes the house, meaning it's close by. Don't know if that has any relevance to anything, but there we go. None of it is of any real note, until the neighbour mentions something about a bald man who is looking for you, Melody, signalling that despite his fall in the house, Jizo the Facestealer is in fact still alive. This is confirmed by an image that I was unlucky enough not to be randomly generated, but was found by another in the house Discord. Thank you, John. Which shows Jizo watching the girls who are watching the TV. Kind of like we are watching him. It's TVception, you know what I mean. But moreover, it's confirmation of his survival. And I can't quite tell, but it looks like the long-necked neighbour is on the armrest just to his left. But maybe that's another face. That's another one of his stolen faces or whatever. In any case, this leaves us knowing that there is more to the story than just the house. One final piece of information before my giant ass theory drop at the end is I was lucky enough to see this appear on the TV twice, which shows an unknown man seemingly on the other side of the TV screaming for help before being pulled back into the shadows by something. Now what this tells me, and leads me on to my theory, is that this world is much more than just the house. The neighbour, the granddad, Jizo the Facestealer. Too many things that go on outside of the house itself lead me to think that either there will be a separate spin-off game that continues in this universe, or more trouble for Tabby and Melody, but this time it won't be restricted to the house that we know. Whether it's the graveyard that the neighbour mentions, the neighbour's house, them travelling to a different plane of existence to really build this world. In any case, I'm excited, as I still think there is much more to come from House and Bark Bark Games. That's my thoughts on House and what potentially might happen in the future. I know there was a fair amount of speculation thrown in there, especially with regards to the Neighbour, but hey, it's a theory video for a reason, right? Let's theorise. Let me know your thoughts and theories in the comments below and where you guys see this awesome game going. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and of course I will see you in the next video.